What's up, YouTube? This is Kiyan Sobani. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus. We were mildly active on the podcast feed and a little bit active over on patreon.com/managing Madrid, and certainly active during preseason doing in-person podcasts in Las Vegas and San Francisco. And thank you to everyone who came out to those shows in person. It was lovely meeting you all and having that Madridista party with you guys. So thank you for coming out. And then I took some time off to spend some time with my kids, and today is Wednesday, and our podcast resumed last night on Tuesday. So psychotic content, consistency every day, basically from now until June, July, whenever it is that Real Madrid win their annual Champions League. It begins now, today. So we're back. We're happy to be back. We love doing this. So thanks for bearing with us on this mini hiatus and this mini vacation we took. This upcoming clip that you're about to listen to is from last night's podcast over on patreon.com/managing Madrid. Every Tuesday, Matt Wiltsey and I, we do something called Tuesday Tapas. We go over all of Real Madrid's talking points and whatever else comes up that day, and we go through it, and it's a ton of fun. And that's exclusively over on patreon.com/managing Madrid. So this clip in particular is a two-parter. The first part is about some lingering thoughts from the Juve game, how we pressed aggressively, how certain players looked in that scheme, and why Ancelotti should give the press a go again next season. And part two is just some backup striker talk and discussion on Cesca and Broja. So, as always, the entire episode is much longer, and we talked about the preseason vibe. We talked about some tactical stuff for next season. We talked about Miguel Gutierrez going to Girona and how he fits there. We talked about Borja Mayoral's journey and some of his bad timing and luck that he had, but ultimately what happened and what went wrong. And also how Brahim Diaz is affected next season by Milan's new signing, which we're going to call CDK because we don't want to butcher his last name for now. So we talked about that. We also talked about Takefusa Kubo's preseason games with Real Sociedad, some squad construction stuff, player registration, who comes, who goes at the end of the window. And all of that is over on patreon.com/managing Madrid. Enjoy today's show. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get it. I didn't have much to write about in my column the last couple of weeks, so I've been kind of rewatching these preseason games more than I should. And so I went back and watched the Juve game, at least parts of it that I highlighted in my notes to go back and watch. And one of the things I enjoyed most about the Juve game was that it was kind of a throwback performance to, it almost, obviously, do not take this out of context, and I'm trying, this might sound ridiculous, but it just kind of gave me flashbacks of 16-17 final versus Juventus. We were wearing the purple kit, and we were just controlling the game. We were the better team. And what I took away most of it was that there was a certain control and tempo and aggressiveness in our press, in our ball winning, and in our passing. It just felt fluid and natural and not labored and easy. And I think part of it was because we were in that mode to control and win the ball high up the pitch. And players like Cruz really thrive on that, because when you think back to some of the struggles of Cruz this past year, and you look at the scheme he's been asked to play in, it's a low block and chasing shadows. And, Cruz at his best, whether it's with Germany or Real Madrid, it's in a system where he's winning the ball high up the pitch. He's organizing the press. He's playing, he plays vertical passes anyway, even if it's like literally in our 6-yard box. But just his ability to connect the dots higher up the pitch, that's where he thrives. And I just really enjoyed seeing him in that role again. And it made me wonder, are we going to see more? Are we going to see more of this? I don't know. But I'd like to see more of it, because I think if we have the depth now and last year it fell apart, the press and stuff and our desire to play that way, it fell apart by the fall, like late November, early December, whenever that Shakhtar game was where we started to play, we flipped it. I wonder if this year we're able to sustain something like that more because we have more depth in midfield, because it won't be too reliant on Cruz and Modric to carry it. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's the goal, and I think did Ancelotti say this? I'm trying to think if I saw this quote, but basically that with the younger three, he has kind of like the rock and roll midfield, and then the veteran three, he's got the kind of classic control. And so he can switch it up and play it however he wants. And I think after the Champions League run, I think he recognized how important that is to the team. So I would think that he continues to utilize that throughout the season. And when you bring in a guy like Chouameni for 100 million, and you have Kamavinga who's playing so well, I thought he was probably the best player in preseason out of all three matches. And obviously Fede playing so well, Ceballos playing so well. So when you have all these pieces, like use them. And it looks like Ancelotti kind of recognized that at the end of the season there. And so hopefully he brings that. I don't see why he wouldn't bring that into the start of this season. And hopefully we can utilize it all the way through.
But I actually wanted to ask you this on that note before we move on. A lot of people are saying we should sign Benjamin Sesko or Armando Broja. Like really adamant, like we can't miss out on these guys. And I just have a question because I'm amazed so many people seem to know a lot about these kids because I certainly don't know anything about them. Armando Broja has barely played top flight football. He did a bit at Southampton, but he hasn't made any significant appearances for Chelsea in the Premier League. He's a kid. His numbers aren't really that impressive. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's only 19. I just don't know anything about him. I'm just amazed how so many people know about him. Benjamin Sesko, last year, 5 goals in 24 appearances. What, Mike, I just have a question. Like, how was any of this more impressive than what Jovic did at Frankfurt? And why are so many people so adamant about these two players who I would be shocked if they've actually seen these two guys play? I just asking the question, like, what is the fascination with these players? Because I barely know anything about them.
Yeah, I mean, even forgetting Jovic at Frankfurt, like, just are they gonna fit better than Borja Mayoral? Like, no. I mean, that's my opinion. is no. So, like, I've never seen them play, so I can't really say, but I just don't think, like you said, they're teenagers, they're young players, their numbers aren't there yet. Like maybe it'll come, but in terms of like an immediate impact and a player to be a backup to Benzema and to actually be able to contribute in that backup role, I think, and fit our system and be a like for Benzema, I think Mayoral kind of fits a lot, like checks off a lot of boxes, and I don't know that these other two players do.
Yeah, and I just don't think like either of these two players would play. And again, not to say that either of these two players are bad or wouldn't work. I'm kind of agnostic towards both of them, but I just don't really see where the hype is coming from, other than the fact that people I'm assuming are just going by based on what they've heard or read. Because there's no way most of our listeners or Real Madrid fans mainstream are watching Southampton, for example. And so I was just curious about that.